Hey guys, so in this series, I actually want to talk about some of this support character that can bypass certain boss mechanic. Like, most of the time we are playing with boosting our attack, especially when enemy have high defense, we boost up our attack so that we can deal brave damage. Then they have brave damage reduction, while we have brave damage up, which is, it's kind of like stats that we put to boost so that we can at least deal damage to the enemy. While having brave damage, the other one that we have is HP damage. So we have HP damage up and enemy has HP damage reduction. So I want to talk about some of these support characters because the conventional, previously most of the support characters, what they do is they provide stats up, attack stats up, max brave stats up, eye brave stats up, battery, brave gain, all those things so that we can hit hard, we can max on our HP damage. But now, lately, some certain characters, they start to have more mechanics that actually just bypass the thing entirely. So I want to talk about those support characters in this video. And the first one I want to talk about is Neon. So just look into what I've extracted from the Cydia Compendium. Based on her debuff, the Fire of Rage debuff, if the debuff is 6 stacks and above, she will deal rainbow damage, or anyone that is hitting fire damage will deal rainbow damage. And her BT will enchant the entire party with fire, and with her BT, the stack will now no longer reduce, so which means everyone will be hitting rainbow damage. So if you are hitting rainbow damage, then you just do not care about your attack stats anymore, about your brave damage up stats anymore, because you will be dealing the maximum brave damage, and the only stats that matter after this is brave damage limit up. So if you boost your brave damage limit up to a very high number, every time you do rainbow, you will gain a lot of brave, hence you will deal a lot of HP damage. So Neon is the first character that I want to talk about in this video, is that she has that rainbow damage. And the next one is Locke. But Locke, technically, he does not have an FR yet in GL. He will in a couple of months time, but his BT has party ignore defense. So if you are ignoring defense, the only thing that can stop you from dealing high brave damage is brave damage reduction. Okay, so while Neon bypasses everything, Locke bypasses the needs for attack stats. So most of the time, if you have him in your party, you will hit pretty hard. And the next one here is Yuri. So why I'm talking about this, so he has this condition: party increase brave damage by 30% of HP damage dealt per attack. So every HP dump, you will gain back brave. So let's say if you're doing 200,000 damage, you will gain back 60,000 brave. So that fills up your max brave, and with again HP damage up, you can easily hit cap again and again and again, to the point that this becomes pretty broken, that you can overflow, snow overflow, what we call it. And the developer decided that in Shinryu fight, brave gain is limited to only 30% of HP damage limits, which then prevents the overflow. So this does tells you how broken this is. So most of the time, if any character have this, you will probably cap on damage, and you don't, like, if the enemy have brave damage reduction and you do not have any mechanic to counter it, most of the time if you have this ability listed on their BT, FR or LD, you will most likely cap on damage. So it's a very, very good condition to have for a specific character's kit. So similarly, Fusoya has this as well, but it's on his LD, not his BT. So he have party after every HP attack increases brave by 200% of holder's eye brave. So it's not based on total damage dealt, it's based on eye brave. So most of the time, this version is slightly weaker than the other kind of brave gain per HP attack that is based on max brave, based on HP damage, those are actually stronger. But the thing here is he also have brave gain, so any form of brave gain will boost the the amount of brave that you receive from this effect. Similarly, Sarah has that condition as well, so you can see party increase brave by 10% of HP damage dealt per attack, which is similar to Yuri, but it's 10%, not 30%. But what gives is that Sarah have very high brave gain, so boosting up the brave that you receive from this effect by quite a lot, to the point that if you have Sarah in your team and you're using her FR, you were already most likely to cap on damage. But yeah, you still got to activate her FR. Next is Penelope. So Penelope again have a similar effect, but it's based on HP damage limit up. So it seems that if Shinryu caps HP damage limit, brave gain, based on 30% of HP damage limit, and Penelope increases brave gain by 20% of HP damage limit, it seems that Penelope will never hit the cap. But actually with brave gain up, she has that in her BT 50%, and I believe in some of her buffs as well. And if you bring another few characters that also have that, she actually easily hits 30% cap for Shinryu, right? And the best thing is that she can supercharge. So sometimes you bring, actually not sometimes, most of the time, you bring a support character because they have this charging capability to quickly charge the gauge, right? Or else you'll be taking so many turns before you can charge the gauge, which some of you may not like that kind of playstyle. So if you do need a charger and you want to bypass certain mechanics like brave damage reduction, attack resist, elemental resistance and things like that, we can actually rely on this effect to hit cap. And the next one here we have is Ram. Again, Ram is based on max brave and is 50%. So like Fusoya is 20% of I brave, Ram is 50% of max brave. Yeah, so nothing much to further elaborate. Same thing. The best is that Ram also has fast charging, just like Penelope. Okay, for Charlotta, her effect is slightly different, or is really different from the other support that I have been talking about, but her main gimmick is still to bypass things like if you have brave damage reduction, you are doing one brave, but she still can mix a character to cap. So how does she do that is that her BT effect will allow a specific character to gain brave 10% of their max brave for every brave attack that they deals. So supposedly if you do a brave attack, you hit for 9,999, you get 9,999 brave. But now with Charlotta, if you hit that, you get additional probably around 3,000 to 4,000 brave as well. So every time you attack, you get back like 13,000 to 14,000. So Charlotta kind of like give you the additional capability to gain brave. So even if you're doing one brave damage, you still get the gain brave, unless the fight shuts down both brave damage and brave gain. Which is why we come into Ursula, because what Ursula does is that party after every HP attack, it sets brave to 100% of max brave. So she doesn't care. She doesn't care if the enemy have brave gain reduction. She doesn't care if the enemy have brave damage reduction. As long as her BT effect is up, she will always set your brave. The key word here is set. So it's always at 100% of your max brave. So that's how good this effect is, because if you're always as max brave, it is very easy for you to then hit the cap with just some help of HP damage up. And yeah, so technically if the enemy is not resisting your attack as well, so with 100% max brave, and then when you do attack you gain additional brave, you will definitely cap. And one of the beauty of Ursula is that she has the condition where Brave attack and HP attack has an additional 50% up on HP damage limit. And now Setzer. So Setzer, technically, he can bypass any form of reduction because first he has rainbow damage from his LD. So rainbow damage bypasses Brave damage reduction, defense, all those things. And now with his BT, he has a 70% chance to deal cap Brave damage during Brave attack. Joker's death. He has a 70% chance to deal max HP damage during HP attack. So even if the enemy is having HP damage reduction by 999, supposedly Setzer is going to be dealing 0 damage, but with his BT effect, he has a 70% chance that instead of 0, it will be 250 or even 300,000 damage, depending on his HP damage limit. But again, his gimmick is all revolving around that 70%, and while the BT 70% doesn't reduce, but the one on the LD for Brave damage does reduce depending on the turn remaining on the buff. So that brings us to the last character I want to talk about, which is Queena. So Queena bypasses everything. But if you compare Queena with Setzer, is Queena doesn't allow the party to do rainbow damage, right? So he doesn't help in that department, but it doesn't matter what the enemy has, like HP damage reduction or Brave damage reduction. You are not allowed to gain Brave. Queena just ignore all of that and everybody just cap. So the higher you boost your HP damage limit, the higher damage you will deal as long as Queena is in the party. So among all of this support, I do think that Queena's BT effect is the most broken one of all. And then we have Setzer and Ursula and yeah, all those characters as I have previously mentioned. So here, this is something I compile. If you have enemy with high defense or have some attack down that cause you to hit for 1 damage, then you can bring Lock, you can bring Neon. You will be hitting really hard and will be able to do damage. If you have Brave damage reduction as well, to the point that you hit 0 or 1, then you can bring characters like Fusoya, Sylla, or Yuri, including Neon and Lock actually. But if you need a charger, then you can look into Sylla, Penelope, or Ram, because Neon, Lock, Fusoya, Sylla, Yuri, none of them are a charger. And if the enemy have Brave gain reduction, so not only that they reduce the damage that you are doing 1 damage, now you are not even getting any form of Brave. So imagine that you are at 0 Brave, you can't attack the enemy to steal Brave, and now you can't even battery your characters. So this is where Ursula comes in, because she just ignores those. But now if the enemy have HP damage reduction as well, then Ursula can't do anything. She will still do 0 damage regardless of how much Brave she gains. And another thing is that max Brave down. Her gimmick all relies on max Brave, so if the enemy has 999% max Brave down, then Ursula won't be able to help. So you need to cancel Boss FR or do something to bypass those mechanics. But Queena and Setzer, they can. So Setzer is 70% chance, Queena is 100% chance, but Setzer does have several more utility if you talk about his kit. So it's not a directly fair comparison to say that Queena is actually better than Setzer. So that is up for you to decide. So anyway, I hope this video provide you some insight based on what kind of character that you already have, who is in your roster, what kit you have, whose BT you have. So if you do not have any of the other characters with similar mechanics, then you should pull for them. So thank you very much for watching this video. See you again.